Hey guys, welcome back to D-Walks. We are spending another day in Tasman Peninsula at one of the most visited tourist attractions, Port Arthur Historic Site. Port Arthur Historic Site is part of Tasman Peninsula in southern Tasmania, 18th century penal settlement. It is now an open-air museum open to public. You have to buy a ticket to explore the museum. We are now standing right in front of the Penitentiary, which is one of the most photographed ruins within the site. Did you know that this fascinating structure was originally constructed as a flour mill and a granary way back in 1845? This penal settlement has been all about self-sustainability, and this building has played a crucial role in making that possible. Grain was grounded by either a water-powered mill or, when water flow was inadequate, by convicts walking on a treadmill. This punishment has been one of the harshest at Port Arthur. The mill and granary has been converted to a penitentiary in 1854 to house extra prisoners from the abandoned New Norfolk Island settlement, just like John Barnes. The penitentiary has been up and running until 1877 with extensions to house the laundry, kitchens, ablution blocks, and workshops.
Especially a maximum security prison. Who's been here before to Port Arthur? None of you. You must be all good people. But sadly there were 10% who came out from England, because England had a policy to dump all its criminals in the New World. And sadly, like we have in our society today, we have a group of people who call themselves professional criminals. So this jail, Port Arthur, is for the 19th century gangster folks. Whatever the equivalent of drug dealing or organised crime was in those days, these blokes were involved. There were two prisons, Norfolk Island and Port Arthur, from 1830 onwards. Now these men are the hard men of society today, folks, and when I talk about them, don't feel sorry for them. They had their choices, okay? Just like today, jail to them was an occupational hazard. Let me give you an idea, just to put some concept around it. 73,000 convicts came to Van Diemen's Land between 1803 and 1853. Of that 73,000, 7,000 men and boys, exclusively male prison, came through this prison because they were considered the hardcore criminals, okay? Combined, they served 13,500 sentences. So do the maths, young man, you can work it out. If you want to exercise your brain, folks, I'll give you an example. The longest serving prisoner here was a man called George Britton. He served time in this very building. George arrives here at the age of 14, dies here at the age of 53. Served 6 sentences over his criminal life, never going to behave himself.
Port Arthur is symbol of Australia's convict history, situated 90 kilometers roughly from city of Hobart, established in 1830s as a penal settlement. Breathtaking views, spectacular landscapes, fascinating structures, and sad stories. The importance of strong walls and the tower has been identified by Commandant both in 1835, and construction of the guard tower has completed in the following year. The guard tower has thoughtfully built to get a 360-degree view of the surrounding area, including any vessel anchored nearby. The convicts ended up at Port Arthur were the people who committed crimes after arriving in the colonies. While some punishments were physical, some were psychological. Apart from the treadmill punishment we talked about before, they have used leg irons as another form of physical punishment. Leg iron restricted the movement of convicts and made the escape even harder. It's time for a boat ride. This is part of your entry ticket, and you will hear more stories on board while watching the structures from the waters.
Incarcerated what were considered to be the most incorrigible or incurable criminals within this colony of Van Diemen's Land. Now, the general scheme of this place, of course, was that men would be put to hard labour gathering raw materials, and other men would be put to task making things from those raw materials. Port Arthur always had an industrial side. Now, the most plentiful and most valuable raw material here was timber. Various species of eucalypts, which were described as being 150 feet to the first branch.
The building we are entering now is called the Separate Prison, opened in 1851, has been used for psychological punishments by strictly separating convicts from each other. Prisoners in this building were not allowed to talk to each other, but they were allowed to talk to guards to pass important information. And some of them are still living in this prison. Here you go. Port Arthur Historic Site is the location for massacre in April 1996 that 33 people lost their right to live and 23 wounded. That is the so very reason for national restriction on high-capacity semi-automatic shotguns and rifles in Australia.